Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Welcome to this week's Monday Review Racing Postcast. Myself, Dave Orton, in the seat replacing Maddie Plough. Maddie's a little bit under the weather. Get well soon, Maddie, if you're listening. I know you probably are. But I'm delighted to say we've got plenty of talent actually on the show today. Tom Park joins us, a racing extraordinaire on the desk, but also a proper punter. And from Paddy Power, Paul Binfield joins us on the line. Binners, are you well?
I'm very well, thanks, David. It's good to see you in the hot chair. Hope Maddie gets well soon. And I forgot to mention a few weeks ago, Stuart from Aldgate, big fan of the show. I didn't give him a mention that week. I don't think I was on, but I'll give him one now. Hello, Stuart.
I'm glad that you're positive, Binners, because let's face it, this weekend, it's a great meeting at Air Parky, isn't it? But this review section's going to go quicker than normal, isn't it, Arnold? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, certainly if my punting was anything to go with, the sooner we can get over this, the better, really. Not the best weekend, really, for
Two big handicaps.
Two big handicaps to get stuck into.
It's not for everyone, are those big race handicaps, you know?
Nah, I mean, look, there's something that I like. I actually had a double, an each-way double on two, and they both finished dead last in the Silver and Gold Cup. So that is pretty much how my how my weekend went, really. So hopefully do better this week, anyway.
Yeah, well, let's get stuck in then. Let's talk about the Air Gold Cup, of course. We've got the bronze now. You've got the silver, Golden Apollo in the silver. Let's not go there. He was been called some proper names, isn't he? Tim Easterby continues to have a good autumn. And, of course, Angel Alexander, another 3-year-old in the race, winning for Tom Dascombe. Did you see it coming, first and foremost?
Personally, I didn't see it coming. I've looked back at his form and look, Dascombe's done a brilliant job to kind of hide this one away, really. Running at Chester a lot. And look, Chester's a funny place when you it's a good place to hide your horse, I suppose. You get a high draw there. I mean, I didn't see it coming.
Yeah,
I certainly didn't see it coming from the draw. Look, all the races beforehand were all highly drawn. Lowly drawn, sorry. And even in the race, I mean, the far side were miles clear of the stands rail, and Angel, it's come from nowhere, really. I mean, it's a proper performance. You've got to really mark that one up, because he come late on the line. I kind of thought that the far rail was just going to grab. Was it Growl?
Growl, who again had been second in the race in 2016. He's just, I think it was his 50th start, Growl, on ground that would have been lively enough for him as well.
Yeah.
He's been there and done it, got the t-shirt, etc.
I just thought
he's your benchmark for the race, surely, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was just always going to get there, because I thought, well, there's no way that this thing's going to come and beat it. But look, it's a big performance, and I would still mark up Gunmetal as well, who actually finished
second
ninth.
on the near side.
They've finished a long way clear of the rest of them. A long way clear.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So again, he's another one that I wouldn't be too averse to taking from the race. He's a solid enough horse, Gunmetal.
Yeah, I covered the race for the analysis department. I couldn't help but write it was anything but rock solid form. Binners, 28-1 shot, beats a 28-1 shot, but Gulliver was third, and Summergand 11-1 shot. How did it go for Paddy Power, the race?
Yeah, I think with 2 28-1s, Dave, you can make your own conclusions. But Gulliver ran well at a short price, and actually Gulliver could be the one to take from the race. He was the first, drawn low. The first two were 24 and 18. I thought the lows would do the business. I wrote a tipping piece for Paddy on Thursday, and I went for Hay Jonesy drawn 8, 20-1 when I tipped him. Went off at 10-1 and didn't finish much better than Parky's selection. So, we were thrown a bit by the draw, I suppose. But well done to Michael Owen, Tom Dascombe, and especially Mr. Mound, one of the owners. I think he took some 66-1. So well done to him.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess we've got a 3-year-old winning a big sprint handicap, probably pattern class for next year. Let's keep it quite succinct then at Ayr. Was there anything else, Parky, that caught your eye at Ayr that you want to talk about?
Well, just that Get Nutted has been, Golden Apollo has been my cliff horse.
In the Silver Cup, of course.
Season. I abandoned him. That just summed up my weekend, really. Get Nutted is one of my favourite horses in training. He ran another
down from 7, wasn't he?
He's just an each-way machine. He never runs a bad race.
He's well handicapped now as well, isn't he?
He is well handicapped.
There were I noticed on Saturday in that Silver Cup when analysing it, that quite a few of them were coming back from 7. That Gabriel the Saint, who ran an absolute blind, didn't he? Show Stealer, I thought, was the eye catcher of the race, probably. She was drawn on the near side, came across one another blind outs twice now that she's been drawn on the wrong side. Golden Apollo, we've got to talk about him, haven't we? Because let's face it, there's so many punters out there saying, come on, guys, tell me why this won.
Yeah, I mean, I've been backing it all. See, the reason why I won, he's a very well handicapped horse, and actually, he's got some talent about him. There's been so many eye-catching runs from him this season that I've just kept going in and going in and going in. It's the first time that I've abandoned him. When he hit the front, I was
and he won like a good thing, didn't he?
He
was
did win like a good
thing.
thing.
Knuckle down.
I tell you, he's that well handicapped that he could.
Oh, you're not going to say he's going to follow up, are you?
I think he could go in again because he's dropped a lot down the weights, and you know. It's be interesting to see what the handicapper does. He's been hard to win with. It was a good performance, and as you said, when he does put it right, and he seems to throw the towel in quite quickly in some of his races, but he seems to travel well, and yeah, I was convinced his win was going to come at York, one of the York meetings. I thought
I was the same. I'm pretty sure I was on him that day as well, when he just looked very disinterested.
Yeah.
At Doncaster a couple of weeks ago at the St Leger meeting, he travelled, cruised into the race, found absolutely nothing. So tricky one for punters. But the fact that he was 12-1 binners suggests that some punters kept the faith.
Yeah, some of them kept the faith, Dave. Looking at some of the air results, well done to the Mark Johnston team. Rosa Kildare won the Firth of Clyde Stakes. Now, I think Henry Candy won this race a few years ago with Airwave. I don't think Rosa Kildare is in Airwave's class, but she cost $3,000 as a yearling, or €3,000 anyway. So well done to the Mark Johnston team. It's job done with Rosa Kildare, and I'm sure she'll be winning some more nice races in the future.
Yeah, the Dark Vision connections as well, weren't they?
To take from that race, Rosa Kildare, the horse in third was Endless Joy for Archie Watson. She was quite good when she won a handicap at Foss last time. She's rated 78. The handicap will probably bump her up a good bit after that run, because I think 86 and 94, she's only beaten a length by the 94 one. But it will be interesting to see her back in handicap company. She ran really well behind Rosa
some
Kildare.
year, isn't he, Archie Watson?
Yeah, he's
started off scorching, the 2-year-old trainer, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And she'll win some races. I was a bit of an eye catcher. She was a big price. She was about 20-1. A lot of that was probably taken on the fact that she is just rated at 78, so she had a lot to do. But she was impressive at Foss last, and back in handicap company, I would give her another chance of winning.
Nice, I like that, ending out on a positive note then with an eye catcher for you all. Let's look at Newbury, because I think probably from a future point of view, we can all agree this was the meeting to really concentrate on. Shall we start with Pierre Lapin? Yeah. Is that how we pronounce his name? Pierre Lapin? Pierre Lapin. Half brothers of Harry Angel, of course, who won the Mill Reef, the Group 2 on Saturday. The 255, beating Mystery Power of Richard Hannons, who was sent off joint favourite, had some pretty good form in the book, and Chardon, who also had some pattern class form, was third for Andrew Balding. Going into the Mill Reef, Parky, on the Thursday, I fancied Mystery Power, who's ran about 4-1, because I thought it was a bit of a weak race, and I wasn't sure if Pierre Lapin, with that break from Haydock, when he impressed on his debut, I wasn't totally sure whether he would have the experience to go through that. If you remember, though, of course, Harry Angel had a similar break before winning the Mill Reef. Clever man, this Roger Varian.
Oh, he's a very clever man. He looks it clever as well with his glasses and everything. I think he's probably the most intelligent-looking trainer out there. But yeah, look, brilliant. It was a really nice performance. I mean, the horse in second's rated 111, so...
Just a bit sharp for Mystery Power, back from 7. He just hit that flat spot, didn't he, but kept on?
Possibly, yeah, he stayed on well. What was the Botti horse?
Yes.
Molotru, is it?
Yes, Molotru. Who ran well at York, didn't get the run.
He did run well at York, and he hung so badly left. He looked like he was possibly going to win at one point on Saturday. Without pouring cold water on the performance, I think that Pierre Lapin, he's quite an exciting horse now, as he said, related to Harry Angel. I'm just not getting too carried away with the form of this race. I think that Molotru was going to go relatively close until he threw his chance away by hanging. And going through that York race, it wouldn't surprise me. maybe he's a bit of a hype horse. It was a good performance. As you said, the horse in second probably wants a furlong further. He'd probably be a miler in time, when I think the winner will be a 6 furlong horse. So I wouldn't be jumping on him now for the Commonwealth Cup, take it that way. But it was a nice performance, and it'll be interesting to see how he moves on from that, I think.
Let's switch this to Binners then. Binners, I asked you just before we went on air, have you got a price for Pierre Lapin? You said he wasn't in the market, but you found one for us.
Yeah, just first of all, Tom Park's quite right. Glasses do make people look very intelligent. Well done, Parky. Commonwealth Cup, we've put him in at 12-1 now. Roger Varian was suggesting 6 furlongs is going to be his trip, and he'll show more speed as he becomes a stronger horse next year. We cut him for the Dewhurst on Saturday, 14 from 25, but whether he'll show up there is another thing, as he had a long break after Haydock. And we also put him in the 2,000 guineas at 33-1 first show, but I suspect he probably won't turn up for that.
Yeah, he's a big unit, isn't it? You think they might give him a bit of time, shake a blade, patient.
Don't get me wrong, Harry Angel improved massively as well, coming on as a 3-year-old. So I'm not discounting this horse's chances. I'm just not getting as carried away as some, I don't think. There's just something about the form that I'd like to see him in a better race before I'd be jumping in on 12-1.
Okay, well, let's move on to the Dubai Duty Free Handicap, which followed that race. And talking about horses, will they, won't they turn up? Caradoc came up on top. Really ready performance this, wasn't it? A little bit unlucky at the York Zebra meeting. Solid second favourite behind Forest of Dean for John Gosden, who was smashed in the betting binners, wasn't he? Into 13-8. He was £5 well in ahead of his handicap mark future-wise. They came here instead of the Cambridgeshire. Have we seen the Cambridgeshire winner there? Because you surely got to have him near favourite for that now.
Well, Dave, I've got the benefit of my laptop right in front of me. I've just found out that he's definitely going to be a non-runner for the Cambridgeshire.
Breaking news.
We did suspect that he might not run in that race. As Ed Walker didn't really mention it afterwards. He mentioned races like the Wolverton next season, but before this news, he was 8-1 joint favourite. He's obviously out of the market now, and we've got Star of Bengal and Lord North heading it at 8-1. Good Birthday 5th position, Le Don de Vie on 10-1, and it's 14-1 the rest, Dave.
I've got a sneaky feeling for one of them in the Cambridgeshire. We'll get to that in a bit, Parky. Anything from that Dubai Duty Free Handicap? It was a solid race, wasn't it? I thought it was an eye-catcher. Gibbs Hill? Yeah,
there was a few eye-catchers in behind. It was a bit of a funny race. Everything came from behind, really. The great example kicked, and I think it was Callum Shet. I think if he had the ride again, he would maybe have just held on a little bit longer, because he was in mid-division, which is where he wanted to be, and he kicked maybe a little bit too soon. Look, there was a few. Gibbs Hill is definitely, they've seemed to have found a trip for him now.
He was right at the back after a slow start, wasn't he?
He was, yeah, and he showed a really nice turn of foot to get back in the race. And look, they started him off in the Northumberland Plate earlier in the season. So
massive gamble for that, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was a massive gamble, and then
form,
yeah, exactly. I think this is probably going to be his best trip. He's been running over 1.5 miles as well. He ran perfectly well in the September Stakes at Kempton the other week. Yep, he was definite eye catcher. The other one, that Mitigation, got no run whatsoever at a very crucial time.
He's a horse that a lot of people latched onto for David Emenuzier, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think
very consistent horse.
He is a very consistent horse. The trainer's always been raving about how well handicapped he is. He won, I think, 2 or 3 handicaps already this season. Look, there's more scope. I think he was officially a few pound well in this, but he ran. If you watch it back, I mean, he's made up some ground.
Okay, we'll have to watch that back,
crucial stage in the race. He just got tight for room. I think it might have even been Gibbs Hill that just squeezed him in. He had to wait for his move, came out, and he was a fast finishing 4th. So he'd be another one that I would take from the race. But yeah, there was a few. It was a good race. I think there'll be a few winners from that.
Check your Respin Post replays then for that one. Desert Encounter, we've got to give him a mention, of course. On a real roll, isn't he, for David Simcock, the Dubai Duty Free Legacy Group 3. Second time he's won that race. Not just talking about the horse, but Jamie Spencer's, he's come back, hasn't he, again? Lots of people were shouting at some rides about him during the summer, but Spencer's shown, since he's come back from that planned retirement and they pulled him out, he is just, I mean, he's sort of up there with Dettori on his day, isn't he? The way that he gets them home. I love the way that's on some of these Simcock horses recently. He's almost been getting there by his own sort of standards too soon. But punters want to see that, don't they? Let's face it.
Look, he's a bit of a Marmite jockey. I've always absolutely been in admiration for the bloke. I think he has an amazing ability to just switch horses off. Like people talk about, oh well, he gets into trouble and stuff. But look, he's given the horse. The horse are running £6-7 better just for the fact that he's got this calming and the way that it's so good to watch. And
he knows when to hold them, doesn't
absolutely.
he? And absolutely, what he's got, underneath him, which I think is a lot of the jockeys that are at that that mid level. You wonder sometimes, you see them let horses down, you're like, there's nothing there, is there? Jamie just seems to constantly know what he's got under him, I think.
Yeah, he's got an amazing ability to just, and a horse like Desert Encounter, who's a habit of getting there too soon, is the perfect ride for Jamie Spencer because he can.
Small field's ideal because
small fields. Yeah, I mean, look, it was my horse that I backed in the race came as a consequence. I backed the outsider, which was Pivoan, and
he ran well though, didn't he?
He ran really well, and Spencer did a real job. But he realised that he was the danger with about 2 furlongs to go, and he just held him in enough, perfectly within the rules, to just make sure that he wasn't going to get first run. And if Pivoan had got out a bit a second earlier, then he might have just caught, because he was stopping Desert Encounter, as he always does. But it was a masterful ride. And I'm never happy to lose money, but when you watch a ride like that, I'm in admiration of the bloke. I think he's a brilliant.
He does it midweek as well, we should say, shouldn't we? Yeah. He's a top jockey that will turn up to Yarmouth. I think there was a couple of rides that I wrote about at Yarmouth during the week, which he won. It's absolutely mastered.
And Simcock is in red hot form at the moment, so he's getting it was another one that that Lord North at Ascot the other week, and it was another.
And bless him, came and did him, yeah.
Bless him, just come swinging on the bridle. I'm so glad he come back out of retirement. He's probably riding better than ever at the moment. He doesn't seem to be making the mistakes that he used to make. He's riding as good as ever. He's a brilliant jockey.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, Binners, anything else from Newbury before we move on to Newmarket quickly?
Not really, David. As you've just mentioned, Dave Simcock was praising Jamie Spencer greatly after that ride. It was a brilliant ride, and Pivoan was unlucky for Tom Park there.
Okay, yeah, so Pivoan, maybe still another big prize in him.
He ran in the September States. He actually tanked through the race,
mile 2 all the way. Then
he just didn't stay. I think it was a mile 3. I think that race it stayed perfectly well, but it was a small field.
I like horses like that though, because it looked like they might be disappointing some, and if you're on these horses, when they get their ideal test, they're going to be a bit of value, aren't they?
He's a real traveller, and he doesn't shy out of it as well. He didn't stay in the September States. I think a few people have criticised him a few times, but
dismiss him. That's what I mean.
He's a proper horse, and look, he'll win some races over mile 2 listed Group 3 class.
As a punter or even a lay, you've got to stick with these projects that you see things, don't you? Let's face it, when we all back a horse, you're going to take more interest in it than normal. So it's one way to do it. Talking of keeping with project spinners, this Land of Oz has been some project for punters that keep backing him. He won the Cesarewitch trial at Newmarket, and horses can come out of that race and win the big one. Do we have a price for Cesarewitch after the Land of Oz hosed up yet again?
We do, David. We make him 12-1 from 20-1 for the Cesarewitch. However, I urge punters to hold off backing that one. Sir Mark Prescott was quite adamant afterwards that he won't get into the race. He's got 2 others in the race. Timoshenko, 10-1, third favourite, and he's also got Distant Chimes at a huge price, 40-1. Sir Mark was making great play of the fact that he never wins the Cesarewitch, so possibly Timoshenko is a bit of a project for Sir Mark this season.
Yeah, I remember when Timoshenko won at Goodwood, they said the ground's wrong for it, but you could tell the way he was doing his pre-race interviews that he thought he got the mathematics right, as it proved that was the case. Last 3-year-old to win the Cez, Darley Sun. Going back quite sometimes shows you how difficult it is, A, to get them in the race, and B, to win it, Parky.
Yeah, and look, interesting. This is the quote from Mark Prescott. He said he's progressive about Land of Oz, a progressive horse, it'd be nice next year. In his likely absence, we have Timoshenko and Distant Chimes who will get in the race, because he was saying that he didn't think he would get in the race. Now, Distant Chimes is rated 91. Land of Oz with that £7 penalty is rated 91. Yet Timoshenko's rated 87, I think. So if Land of Oz is not going, if he's worried about Land of Oz not getting in the race, then I don't really know how Timoshenko. I think he's about. I can't remember exactly where he is in the list, but he needs quite a few to come out.
Right. It's a surprising race, you know. I remember a couple of years ago looking at it and thinking, I was writing about a horse that had won off a mark in the 80s and thinking, is he going to get in? And then you look historically at the bottom weight, and the high 80s can make
Yeah. I think he's 87, so
it's a 30-strong field.
I mean, would he be? Is he got a plan to maybe run him in a race before and get him a penalty and then turn him around quickly?
Well, you certainly wouldn't be surprised if you did that at all.
No, not at all. Look, I actually quite like Distant Chimes. He's a massive price. He was on a big sequence. He didn't run badly last time. Went third.
You'd have to think it's been all about the says. And, as Binner says, Smart Prescott amazingly never won that race. Anything else from Newmarket, Parky, before we move on? Binners? Anything else from the weekend?
One at Newmarket. The I can't say the name of the horse. Queen Daenerys in the 210 opener. Yeah.
Don't you watch Game of Thrones, Binners? Queen Daenerys.
Yeah.
It's a Game of Thrones character, Binners. Come on.
Yeah, listen. William Buick said she's a nice prospect for last year. She was very well backed in the morning, David. Let's see where I'm not sure if she'll run again this season, but let's keep her in the Racing Post tracker.
Yeah, 2 came clear in that opening race, didn't they? And Gosden also ran a horse called Nazif that hosed up in a fillies handicap, and she's probably a group horse there as well. Also on the card at Newmarket, I want to give a mention to a horse called Long Call that won in the amateur riders race. Tony Carroll, the second there, a Geranium under Serena Brotherton. No run whatsoever. Keep with that project. Okay, so that is a review of the weekend. Pretty short and sharp, wasn't it? We've got some outstanding midweek action to review in a minute.
What's my horse's handicap? The fact that you're backing him? Everyone loves a newbie. That's why Paddy Power Games are giving all new customers 60 free spins on daily jackpot games. New Paddy Power Games customers only, one per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
It's time then for the midweek preview, and we've got another sizzling week ahead for us. Why? Because we've got the Cambridgeshire meeting, and all due respect to these recent meetings, this is the one that people have been waiting for, Parky, isn't it? Thursday looks like a great day as well.
Yeah, cracking day. 2 really good races. I like this meeting. It's always competitive field sizes, good racing without being spectacular in the midweek races. Look, this is the first race, the Tattersall Stakes, I think it is.
335, yeah.
Interestingly, I think Mum's Tipple's still in there on the proviso that he's going to go to the Middle Park. It looks a really good race for the 2-year-olds. I think Kameko is probably the most likely one to start off favourite.
Yes, he is. I'll just give you a lowdown if you want, Parky. We don't have any prices for this Spinners at the moment, do we? We'll come to you with them in a minute. I know you've got Friday and Saturday as well, obviously. I'm sure that will change soon out there, because let's face it, these firms fall over themselves, don't they, to get up sooner or later. But at the top, you've got Governor of Punjab for Mark Johnson, Kameko, that Solario form, as Parky mentioned, Lord of the Lodge, second in the Gym Crack. Hannon's got a couple in there. Mum's Tipple, of course, being one. We think he'll probably go to the middle part. And Wichita, who I think is quite an interesting horse if he turns up for Aidan O'Brien. So take it away, Parky.
Yeah, I think Kameko looks the likeliest favourite. The one thing that I've got, that Solario form, I think, is the best form to take from the race. He was green as you like in that race and ran on really strongly. Nearly collared Positive.
Positive, yeah.
Who's
4-6 shot and a 14-1 shot on the day.
And going through the Pinatubo form line, then look, Positive's got closer than the Colts did in Ireland the other week. So he looks a very handy horse. I'd be worried about his greenness. And look, it'd be interesting to see when the betting comes out what price he's going to be. The Lord of the Lodge is the one. We've got to remember there's a lot of rain coming this week.
Yes,
and
well mentioned.
It could be that the ground goes against it for a few of these. And Lord of the Lodge has ran really well at York behind threat. He's got form on all sorts of ground.
He has. He's a dandy man. I keep finding when I run these sire stats that dandy mans do in particular. It's a bit of a generalisation, but they like a bit of cut. I think.
Yeah. And
he's out of a mile 4 horse, so it's another furlong. Honest horse, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And look, that form behind Threat at York is decent enough. The third ran really well at Doncaster the other week. The fourth was that Malatri who we were talking about earlier. Who
Threat came out and won the Champagne, of course.
Threat is a very good horse. So yeah, look, I think he'll be banned there. It'll be interesting to see what the betting's like. Until I see that, I probably won't be nailing my colours to one. But they're the two that catch my eye. I mentioned Wichita.
Didn't think we saw the best of him at Doncaster in probably a tidy race, but it's such a falsely run race.
It was a tidy race, and exactly that. It was a funny old race.
Often were that day, weren't they?
Yeah, exactly. The winner's probably pretty handy. I just think that is a bit below, certainly below the Solario and probably behind the Threat form. So he's got a bit to find, but yeah, at the moment, Lord of Lodge will be the one that I'll be nailing my colours to, because I just think that the ground on the Thursday will be the worst ground. So,
have you had a look at this race, Binners?
I have actually, Dave. I'm going to say I think that the Hannon team should run Mum's Tipple in this race. I'm a little bit. I want to see the form of that sales race at York boosted a bit more. The second and third have been beaten since. Admittedly, the second was a little bit unlucky at Doncaster. I know the fourth did win a listed race, but I'd take it easy with Mum's Tipple and go and win this on Thursday. But in his absence, I'm going to go for Lord of the Lodge for Cole Burke. Trained for a very important owner of Cole's, his wife, Mrs. Elaine Burke. Second to the Jim Crack to Threat. That's brilliant form, as we know. He boosted it by winning the Champagne Stakes. And for me, Lord of the Lodge has got the form in the book compared to Mum's Tipple.
Interesting. So 2 ticks there for Lord of Lodge and the Cole Burke team. Let's move on then to 4:10 at Newmarket. Following that is the Jockey Club Rose Bowl Stakes, listed race over 2 miles. You often see a mixed bag in this, don't you? I'll go down them. Austrian School for Mark Johnson, probably better than his recent form figures imply. Cypress Creek, I think Tom Segal gave a good mention too if he goes for the Cesarowitz, so a lot of eyes will be on him. Withhold is in there for Roger Charlton, Public Course, and the Max We Can, 3-year-old getting plenty of weight for Mark Johnson. Parky?
Yeah, the 2 Johnson Austrian School promised to be a good horse at the start of this season. His form's just tailed off. Look, they've all got a bit to find with Withhold, who I absolutely love. I backed him at York last time. I was kicking myself after. Look, his form figures tell you the story. He's 3 from 4 for 2 mile or further, and he's 1 from 8 over short trips than 2 miles.
He seems to need to be very fresh, doesn't he?
He does seem to need to be fresh. Look, he's won at Newmarket before. He should be winning again. He's miles.
You think he'll be favourite if he turns up?
Yeah, I think
he's a Public Course.
I think he'll be favourite. Yeah, I think he'll be relatively short as well. He's about £11 clear on ratings. Form at Newmarket. As I said, he's prolific over this kind of trip. He's
ground. If they see a bit of rain.
Yeah, that would be the concern. He's not really. You wouldn't want it much softer than good. So whether he actually takes his position. Ian Williams has got one called Hassanabad.
Hassanabad, yes.
I think he's very, very interesting. He's got some good form for, I think it was trained by Dermot Weldy over in Ireland.
Won at Galway, didn't he?
Yeah, this could be, he's probably one to watch. He's off an interesting mark.
Ian Williams has been the staying king, if you like.
Ian Williams is an absolute genius with these. Now, the fact that he's running him in off this kind of mark rather than a handicap, he's either got a project for him. I mean, we were talking the other week about how well he's done with what was the Time to Study.
Yeah.
And this, he'll just get to work on him and he'll have something in mind. He's a brilliant, brilliant trainer of these kind of horses. Now, whether he thinks he's just a good horse and he's running him in listed company straight away, I think he's probably got a handicap lined up for this one, and it's just a case of maybe he's getting his mark down a few pounds. So it'll be interesting. He is a very interesting runner. I've got my eyes on him, but I think Withhold's a class above these if the ground is in his favour.
Would you expect Withhold Benners to be a pretty warm order then if he goes to this race?
Yeah, I think he will be a warm order, Dave. I think he'll be favourite, as Parky suggested. He's got the form in the book. He's not quite £11 clear, which was suggested. Austrian School's a bit closer to him, for only £4 off. But as you've already said, over 2 miles, he's rock solid. He went well for a long way in the E-ball before fading. Nice win over 2 miles at Newbury on his penultimate start, and I expect Withhold to win the race.
Okay, again, 2 solid ticks for Withhold then, short or not. Just keep on the weather watch. We'll know, of course, by Friday exactly what the ground's doing. I think it's looking like it's going to dry up a little bit for the weekend, isn't it? But this midweek rain could hit. And the racing hots up a little bit as well, because Friday's always a sterling card, 3 group races on the card for you. Let's start with the Rockfell then, Parky, the 3 o'clock there. I'll just go down the runners. Initial glance, I've seen stronger fields. Dyer for Roger Variant, the Albany winner, who's run 2 decent races in defeat since. Moyclair, of course, last time out. Blissful, who's got something to find on the form for Aidan O'Brien, but this is race that Aidan targets. Cloak of Spirits, really disappointing at Doncaster, but looked, the business on its debut at Ascot for Team Hannon. Soul Search for Joe Lyons, solid maiden. And Festival Day for Mark Johnson, who I thought was quite interesting. Which of those is tickling your fancy?
So, I've looked at this race. It's got potential to cut up, I think. I think the Joe Lyons horse is running today. There's rain forecast. So, Cloak of Spirit looks like she's a good, quick ground filly. She was very disappointing last time. It wouldn't surprise me if she doesn't run. Day, I think, will run, and she's probably the rightful favourite. But I just can't understand why there's so much price disparity between her and Under the Stars, because Under the Stars has gone well on all kinds of ground this year. She ran really well in the Moyglare. Admittedly, she was half a length behind Dyer. But she's 4 times the price. So at them kind of price, I just think it's an each way bet in a race that probably is going to cut up. And she's not got that much to farm with the short price favourite. So I think at 8-1, I think that is an each way bet for a filly who's going to go on most kinds of ground. So
yeah, interesting. You'll get the each way prices, of course, if you bat now and hope she turns up. Binners, have you got a market for this?
We have indeed, yeah. 13-8 Dyer, 5-1 Blissful, 6-1 Under the Stars, 8-1 Cloak of Spirits, and it's 10-1 Bar, Dave.
What price Festival Day with you, Binners? Did you mention that?
10-1 Festival Day for Mark Johnston.
She's quite interesting. She broke the track record only last week, wasn't it? I think at Chepstow. But was it Threading running this race? I'm trying to remember where she ran. She just stinks of a Johnson improver, and he's got raffle prize, isn't he, in the yard? So he knows exactly where they're going. She's quite interesting for me. Binners, did you like one at the prices?
Yeah, I don't often tip up short price ones, Dave, but I think Dyer, I wouldn't back her at 13-8 personally, but I think she's so solid, second to love in a Group 1. She steps down in class here, filled the same position behind Raffle Prize, who you've just mentioned in the Duchess of Cambridge Stakes. Roger Varian's team seem on fire. I think if she turns up, she's going to be very difficult to beat.
Bit of a difference of opinion there. Then let's move on. Absolute cracker coming up here, the Joel Stakes. Group 2, 3:35 Newmarket on Saturday. Binners, let's start with you. Give us the market, please.
Yeah, King of Comedy heads the market day for John Gosden, 11-8. Then it's 5-1 Zaki, 13-2 UAE Jewel, 8-1 Ben Battle. My selection, along with Matterhorn on the same price, and it's 10-1 the rest.
Lead us in with the Ben Battle then, Binners. I'm fascinated by this one.
Well, I just think he's an absolutely huge price for Saeed bin Saroud, Dave. He's a Group 1 animal on his day, and he's won 3 Group 1 races. He's not been seen for 11 months, but I think Saeed and Godolphin can definitely get horses fit first time, and his second to Winks last time out. That says it all. And 8-1, I think he's a massive price.
He is a fascinating horse, isn't he? Coming back. Parky, obviously that Winks form, we're starting to get a little bit of collateral. Of course, he went down under with a couple of months break and won a Group 1 on his first start in Australia prior to meeting Winks. Is he overpriced?
He's a very hard one to work out, really. Look, I was all over him for the Queen Anne a few years ago. He seemed to transform his form in Dubai.
Yeah, punters down that day.
Then he came over here and he was rubbish. Then he went to Australia and he seemed to be quite good again. I mean, I'm opening a big can of worms here, but is that Winks from all that? I mean, look, she was just beating up bad horses, and Ben Battle was probably the best of bad horses, really. I mean,
we're going to find out a bit, I think.
Certainly doesn't warrant his rating of, I think he's in the 120s, which is just...
He is 1, 2, 3, yeah. They're talking about Breeders' Cup for him as well, potentially. That's something they might look to do with him.
I don't want to diss the horse. He's a good horse on his day, and he's got brilliant form away from the UK, but I just think you're taking on a real, potentially, I think King Comedy's going to be much better back at this sort of trip.
What happened at York with King of Comedy? I was there that day, and I know someone who had a large each-way bet on him. Of course, he came fourth.
Yeah.
But it looked a furlong. He wasn't really, was he very keen, wasn't he, in the Jub Monty? But he still looked like he was coming.
Yeah, and I think he was keen at Sandown, and I think he was keen at Ascot as well. I think it's just a trait of his.
Might have a quirk.
Yeah, and look, I think for that reason, the drop back in trip will suit him. I think he will get a mile and a quarter, no problem, further on in his career. But yeah, I just think he's a good bit better than these. Matterhorn is probably, if you want an each way one, he's just as consistent as he
one
gets.
of the horses of the year, Matterhorn.
Yeah, exactly. And look, he might just get a soft lead in this, but I think King of Comedy is probably a good bit better than these. I certainly don't think that. I'd be surprised if Ben Battle wins. Not to disagree too much with thinking. I've kind of written off all this Winks form. Like, I'm not having it one bit.
It's a fascinating race because you've got UAE Jewel in there as well, who's a course and distance winner. And Roger Varian's been purring about him. We haven't seen him since he impressed earlier in the season there. They thought the world of him as a 2-year-old. It'd be very interesting to see whether he can make the step up. But I agree, on figures, this is King of Comedy's. This is definitely his to lose, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Even money shot then for you?
Yeah, I thought he'd be about 11 to 8 at this point. I mean, again, we don't know. I do think that it just depends. The rain is so unpredictable at the moment, so I don't know how much they're going to get and whether he'd really want soft ground. It'd be interesting to see him on that. But I think he ran well at Ascot, though. I think it was pretty soft there, so he shouldn't have a problem on it.
He was fine that day, wasn't he?
He was fine. I think he's a very good horse. I think drop back in trip at this stage in his career should be fine for him, and he's a proper Group 1 horse. I don't think the rest of them are up to that scratch, really.
Skardew's of some interest, being a course and distance winner, isn't he? He's just gone off the boil a little bit.
My worry with him is William Haggis's form. I think he's won from 21.
So he's out of form, but he's just not having the winners, is he?
Yeah, they're running all right.
They are.
He's just not really getting them over the line. But
he was 1 from 30 prior to last week, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So
that winner at Yarmouth. Double the tally there. So, yeah, I agree. I like Skardu. I think they've got a race in Australia in mind for him, a very valuable race, new race down there. So maybe this is a prep for that. And as much as I like Zaki, he's done me a few favours this year. I agree. I think King of Comedy might just do him. Okay, that's the Friday. Let's have a quick look at Saturday then, because it's an absolute belter, isn't it? Shively Park, of course, the Group 1, sizzling middle park, which we're looking at. We think Mum's Tipple, although Binners would go for the easier selection, we think he's going to probably go there. Earthlight coming over for Andre Fabre with the rain, that might persuade him to do that. He looks like he could be an absolute sizzler, couldn't he? But let's have a look at the Cambridgeshire. Binners, just give us your market for that, and then we'll all pick one out each.
Yeah, it's 8-1 joint favourites, co-favourites actually, Dave. Le Don de Vie, Lord North, Star of Bengal. We can't separate any of those. Then we've got 5th position and Good Birthday on 10-1, 14-1 Desert Icon, and it's 20-1 Bar.
Let's start with you then, Binners. Of those prices, where are you looking?
Well, I was on a panel in Ireland with Joseph O'Brien recently, so I was going to go for Numerian. I'd love to tell you he gave me the nod. He didn't. And he's been taken out at this stage. So a last-minute replacement, I've gone for Desert Icon. He's filled the second position a couple of times at Beverley in the Silver Cup. He was second at Newmarket as well before that. Ran behind a good horse called Good Birthday, who he takes on again in this race. So I'll go for a Cambridge success for local trainer William Haggis.
I'll get in now if you don't mind. I like Good Birthday for Andrew Balding, and that Desert Icon form is quite interesting. I just thought that Desert Icon did everything right during that Beverley race, and Good Birthday didn't. And Oisin Murphy, man of the moment, he'll take the ride for me. I want to look for something unexposed in this race, Parker. You?
Yeah, look, I'm sitting quite pretty on a couple of anti-post.
Here we go.
Bets. Batting Lord North at 33s and 20s before he ran at Ascot.
He didn't run badly there at all, did he?
He didn't run bad at all. He just bumped into
back off a break.
The one that I know, bless him's pretty ran quite a lot of times, but he dropped a long way down the handicap.
He is classy on his day.
He is classy, and it was as we mentioned earlier, Jamie Spencer gave it a proper good one. Look, if you watch that Heron Stakes back, Lord North is given one of the most eye-catching rides. He finished last of 8. But just watch the race back. He seems to, like find a bit of trouble, but he's just completely just fully on the bridle, just the whole way through to the line.
King of Comedy won the race.
King of Comedy won the race. The race is red hot. I think Sangarius ran in the race.
Yep. Third, wasn't he?
Yep. And I think Roseman, was in the race. He's a good horse. Yeah, it is a red hot race. I think there's 4 or 5 winners come from it, and some of them have been multiple winners. I'd just advise anyone, if you've got access to the race, watch that replay back, because Lord North is giving one hell of a ride in it.
This is Gosden as well, isn't it? It's interesting that they went to Newbury. I know that he was ahead of his mark, but if Forest Dean was that good, they'd be going for this, wouldn't they?
Yeah, look, I expected Forest Dean to be running in this. I thought Lord North probably, I didn't think they'd mind winning Ascot Women, because he'd have got a penalty which would have got him in this, no problem. He does need a few to come out. I think he'll get a run, no problem. But look, I'm sitting pretty. He's quite short now in the bet, and I think 8-1. I wouldn't be jumping in again in a race like this. I do think he's well handicapped. So I'll go for another one who also ran in that Heron Stakes at a bigger price, and that's Walk in the Sand for Richard Hannon. Yeah, this he bolted up off 105 at the July course earlier in the season,
Ridiculous,
and I just wonder whether Hannon's been working back from this since then. That was at the July course. This is obviously the Rolling Mile, but he's been running in some good races, not running badly. He's dropped £3, so he's just £3 higher than that mark that he won at Newmarket, which if you'd have said then you're going to get a chance to back him in the Cambridgeshire off just £3 higher, you would probably be taking it. He's around 20-1. I think he's just, that Heron Stakes was a very, very hot race, and I'm just trusting that. I've trusted the form all season. It's worked out well.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just think that was a classy race. You've got a few 3-year-olds that are running in this.
Whistle Hickam won it last year, of course, for Gosden. Yeah. That was a group horse in the handicap, wasn't it?
Gosden seems to always pop up in these kind of races. I mean, Lord North is still my number one bet, but I'll probably be having a saver on Walk in the Sand, just trusting that Heron Stakes form a little bit.
4 3-year-olds then for you to look at, an early steer at the Cambridgeshire. Of course, we'll be having a greater look at that later on in the week, the Friday team. Right, after this advert, the time you've all been waiting for, time for the midweek naps.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet then next week. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Right then, time for your midweek naps. The winners out there.
This will not be beaten.
Paul Binfield from Paddy Power, give us your best winner of the week.
Well, I'm going to go for the Friday, the 4:45 at Newmarket, the Godolphin Stakes over 1.5 miles. I'm going to go for the appropriately named Weekender for John Gosden. He won a 2-horse race at Salisbury earlier this month against a rival who was slightly better rated than him. But if he returns to the form of his third in last year's Irish St Ledger, I think he'll be winning again.
Cheers, Binners. Where are the Park Millions going this week, Tom?
So on the Friday as well at Newmarket, the 150, the Rosemary Stakes, I like Imperial Charm. The favourite in this race, Maxad, who I've lost a bit of money on this season, but look, she bottled up in the Pretty Polly, so you can understand why she is favourite. As we mentioned earlier, Haggis is not in, his strike rate is very low at the moment, it's about 4%. They have been running well, but not necessarily winning. I just think this Imperial Charm's been hitting the crossbar. I think she'll love the ground because she's been running in France the last 3 runs. She won at Newmarket in the autumn last season, and she should handle the track okay. I think she's got a big chance around 7-1.
Nice, 7-1 shot. Happy days. I'm hoping around about 7-1 for Dancing Joe. 7 o'clock Kempton at Wednesday. Andrea Zini has been booked. She loves this track. She's better than her recent form. There are your midweek naps then. Let's get some profit in a big week ahead. Thanks for listening to them. That's it for today. If you like this show, don't forget to rate, review and rate it all the way through Facebook and of course on YouTube as well. Let us know what you think and of course where you're going later on. On Friday, the team will be back as ever. Maddie Plough expects to be back in the seat. They'll be looking through all the top action. We'll know all about the weather at that time. Until then, be lucky.
Paddy Power Games has over 250 of your favourites to play online, and we're going to attempt to name them all in this 10-second ad before the T's and C's kick in. There's Blackjack, 18+, BeGambleAware.org.